welcome to this live on 3 things you need to know about growing roses. If you are new here, welcome. You are so welcome. My name is Kendall Marie Platt. I'm a horticultural therapist and a space holder for garden curious women. I help women to create the garden sanctuary of their dreams. And I also help them to learn how to use gardening to release some of the intense pressure that we are under so that we can all avoid burning out, which happened to me over 10 years ago now. And I use my garden every day to prevent me from getting back there because it is a shit show. Anywho, let's crack on, shall we? The first thing that I think you need to know about roses is that there are different types of roses. So you may have inherited an established garden. So you've moved into a house, it's got a lovely garden that somebody previous to you has created. And you're not actually even sure what roses you've got growing in the garden. You know they're roses, but you're not sure what they are. Okay. Or it might be that you want to buy some new roses. And you're wondering which ones to choose. And you want to know if some are easier to look after than others, or just where the best place to start is. So the first thing to say is that, excuse me, bit of a cough going on here. The joy of having children and their lurgies coming home, hey? Hello, Elizabeth. Lovely to see you here. If you have any questions at all during the live, please do pop them in the comments and I will come to them at the end if I haven't already answered them. So the first type of rose then is called a shrub rose or a bush rose. They're probably the most common. I'd say they're probably the easiest to look after. So if you're looking for something to start with, then I would pick for one of those. And this is largely because, yes, you have to prune them, but you don't have to tie them into supports, which, gets a bit prickly if I'm really honest, and it is a bit trickier. The second type then is the climbing rose. So these are the ones that you kind of probably see looking gorgeous growing over a front door, or perhaps over one of those lovely rose arches that you can get in your garden, or perhaps like on a trellis, like next to a seating area or something like that. Ooh, bit of sun, lovely. The third type then is the rambling rose. Hi, Faith, nice to see you. Do pop any questions you have in the comments. I am here for the next 20 minutes or so talking all about roses. So any rose questions, please put them in the comments. And if I haven't answered them, I'll answer them at the end. The third type then is rambling roses. Now, these grow massive, rambling. They're going to ramble all across your garden. So they really are only suitable for big gardens. I wouldn't choose a rambling rose in my garden. I'd say I've got probably a slightly larger than average UK size garden, but they just take up a lot of space and they really grow. So I would probably only get one of those in my garden if I kind of almost had like a stately home style garden and I wanted to grow a rambling rose like along a big wall or something. So like I said, they grow really freely and they can be quite a lot of work to maintain. So if you're new to the whole rose thing, I would say maybe leave those until you've got a bit of confidence up and start with the shrub roses. The second thing I want to talk about then is where to plant roses in your garden. Generally roses like sun, and the sunnier spot you can give them, the more flowers you're going to get. But some roses will tolerate shade. Now, a little tip here. I buy all of my roses from David Austin Roses. They are a rose breeder and grower in the UK. Sorry, the wind is flicking my notes around. And their website has a really great tool that you can use that allows you to filter on colour. So if you like a particular colour, it allows you to filter on sun level. So if you have got a shadier spot that you're really desperate to grow a rose in, you can go and have a look at some of their shady loving roses. And also like the size and the type of the rose. So you can filter on shrub roses, for example, and you can look at how big the different roses will get on the climbing and the rambling. It will tell you a kind of spread. So I recommend, even if you're not based in the UK, having a look on their website, just because it's a really handy tool. And then if you are, it will help you to choose the best rose for your garden. And then if you are based in other countries, you can then search for that particular type of rose from a supplier that's nearer to you. So you may find when you go to buy roses, or certainly on that website, that David Austin Roses website, you can buy roses in bare root form. Okay, so generally the bare root season, i.e. the time when you can buy these roses, is from November to April. And this is because the plants at this point are in their dormant season. Okay, so by buying them in that dormant state, it saves you a little bit of money, on buying them. You know, they don't have to provide the soil and the pot that they're growing in, because they are literally just the roots and a few stems sticking up. They look quite sticky and like they're not going to do anything, but I promise you they will. And they're easier to post. They can post them in a bag rather than having to pay extra carriage for a big heavy box. So it does save you a little bit of money. But the one thing about buying bare root is that you need to have your planting hole that you're going to plant them into ready for when they arrive, because once they come to you, you either need to plant them straight in the ground, or they'll survive a couple of days maybe in a bucket of water. But because they don't have any soil around the roots when they get delivered, you need to have your planting hole kind of ready to go. If you're watching this video at another time of year, so not between November and April, then you can still order roses, and you'll see them in the garden centres as well. And they will be potted roses. So you can absolutely buy them. They're just slightly more expensive. So I tend to save my rose buying exploits for that kind of dormant period where I can get the bare root ones, and sometimes get myself an extra plant with the money that I save. If you are a Bloom member of the Seed, which is my membership here on Substack, and you would love some help choosing your roses, you're a bit baffled by it, you don't really know what to go for, then comment on the article, this article in Substack, and I can give you a steer. Okay, the third point then, and actually this is where most of my notes are, because I think this is the biggest section of today, is how to take care of your roses. I'm just going to have a little sip of tea because my throat's getting a bit croaky. Hang on a sec. There we go. So if I'm really honest, people think, oh, roses, I don't know what I'm doing. But actually, they don't really require a lot of care once they're established. So when you get your bare root rose, you will have your hole dug. And you can also buy from David Austin or from the garden centre something that's called mycorrhizal fungi. Okay. You don't need to be able to pronounce that. But basically, it is a fungi that helps the roots to really well establish in the soil. That's all you need to know. You don't need to go into the ins and outs of it. We're not about like getting all the Latin names right here. That's not my jam at all. I'm just about, helping you get in your garden, access it, have loads of joy, and create loads of beautiful flowers and plants in your garden. Okay. So you're going to sprinkle that around the inside of the planting hole, and then you're going to plant your bare root into that planting hole. Personally, for me, I don't feed my roses yearly. If you go to the garden centre, you will see that everyone's selling rose food, and there'll be videos online telling you, oh, you should buy this and that to have lovely roses. For me, what I focus on is having healthy soil. So I make sure that my soil is well fed. I will do a video on this at some other point if you think that would be useful, because I think, and I know that by keeping my whole soil ecosystem healthy in my garden, that benefits all my plants. And then I actually don't need to buy those like top up feeds. So that is exactly what I would steer you towards. Like I said, my soil health is really, really good. I'll be sharing those tips as part of the Bloom tier of my membership. There's going to be a live round starting on March 21st, and I'm going to be taking you through small step-by-step daily activities to create your garden sanctuary over the course of the year together. And we're going to be breaking it down into small steps so it doesn't feel too overwhelming. You can just take a little bit of action every day, and end up by the end of the year with a beautiful garden that you're really proud of, but also that you have given yourself a little bit of time every day through the year to nourish yourself, to reset your nervous system, to complete the stress cycle and release some of that pressure that daily life gives to us. Anyway, one of the other things that you will want to do with your roses is to deadhead them. This basically means once all the petals of the flower have fallen off and you've just left with the little hip in the middle, you're just going to want to chop that off, that head, because by doing that, you are encouraging the plant to send out another flush of flowers. So if you want roses from kind of June through till, I'm trying to think here, I think I had roses still in like October time. Then you will want to keep deadheading those roses, and they will send up another flush of flowers. Let me know in the comments if a video on deadheading would be useful. I think it's something that you'll find a little bit confusing. So that would be really useful to know if you would like a deadheading video as well. Okay, so the biggie, are we ready? Pruning. Okay. Now, I know pruning strikes the fear of God into to most people, especially if you're kind of new in the gardening space. You're kind of thinking to myself, oh, what if I kill my roses by pruning them? The first thing I'm going to say is plants want to live. Okay, let's not get all up in our heads about this. It is actually really hard to prune something to death, but a really key thing, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, is timing when it comes to pruning roses to keep them as healthy as possible. But I'll leave that because I've got a really good tip on that in a minute that I'll talk about. But the first thing I want to talk about is why to prune them. Okay, so why do we do this? Like, oh, it's an effort, it's something we've got to do in the garden. There's a few reasons. The first one is to keep the plant healthy and remove any signs of disease. So with the best will in the world, even if you really take an amazing care of your plants, there is something that lives in the air, especially in England. I presume, I don't know if it's climate specific, but it's called black spot. Okay, now you will see this on your leaves. I should have grabbed a leaf over so I could have shown you actually, but hey, I wasn't as organised as I should have been. What you will notice is you'll have the lovely green leaf, and then you will have like little black kind of marks on the leaf. Sometimes if you look really closely, they look almost like someone's drawn little lines on them. And that is because it's a fungus, and that's the way that the fungus grows. It grows in those lines and it forms these black spots. And if you look closer at the plant, you will also see those black spots forming on the stem of the plant as well. So this is really common. It's nothing to worry about. Yes, it does weaken the plant slightly, but one of the reasons we prune is to try and remove that black spot because we want our plant to stay as healthy as possible. So one of the things I will say now, if you make your own compost in your garden, do not put your pruned black spotty leaves and stems into your own compost because it will just spread through your compost. Make sure that if you are cutting those bits off, you are putting them into the council compost where it goes to get incinerated, and that will kill off any black spot for the compost that they produce. So please be careful of that. Another thing that happens often when you're pruning is it's really easy to like drop those leaves or stems that you've cut onto the floor. Once you finish pruning, make sure you go around and collect all of those diseased leaves and stems up, and like I said, put them into the council waste. Because if you leave them in the to sit on your soil, it will just spread through the soil as well. So we really want to try and limit the amount of that as we can. It's really important that once you've pruned off the diseased parts, you wash your secateurs. I'm going to go through equipment in a minute, but before you then start pruning the healthier parts of the plant, because you don't want to transfer that disease into the healthy plants. So I'll talk more on that in just a minute. What have I got here? I had loads of people. I put a question box up on Substack and also on my Instagram as well, and asked people for questions on roses. So I want to make sure I answer those. What have I got here? If you are wondering about the pruning and like exactly how to do it, as part of the Seed, my membership, the Seed, you get access to an article that is literally like 5 steps of pruning, so it really guides you through it. Another reason we prune is to encourage more flowers and also to get lovely long straight stems. So if you like me love to cut your roses for the house and have them inside, there's nothing worse than when it's kind of got like a really curly stem and it's like hanging out the vase. By pruning them, you can encourage those really long straight stems. So if you wanted to make a bouquet for a friend, or you just want to have like them in lovely tall vases, you'll have these lovely straight stems. And this will ensure that you have lots of lovely roses to pick all summer long and bring into the house. There's no restriction. Somebody asked about, is there a restriction on how many we can pick? Is it going to damage the plant? No, there's no restriction. Like I said, the more you pick, the more the plant will keep producing. It's a really, really good plant to have in your garden. If you love having flowers that smell lovely and look lovely for the house, a rose is a really, really great addition for that. And then the last reason then is to restrict the size of the plant. Okay, so I don't know what your roses are looking like now, but mine are like almost getting to the top of my fence. And I know that if I don't prune them, if the growth starts from like the top of the fence, it's just going to be right up here and I'm not going to get to see it. I want the roses at my eye height so I can wander around my garden and see them, out the window. I don't want them like hanging over the fence to the neighbours or into the street. So we want to restrict the size of the plant, and pruning allows you to do that. So when you cut your shrub roses, I would advise cutting them down to 30 centimetres from the ground, which I know seems short, but I promise you, if you want those long straight stems, that is the way to go about it. And then when the stems grow, all the flowers will be like at your eye height. So it will look really, really lovely in the border. The next section then is what equipment you're going to need. Okay, so some secateurs. I just use secateurs for my rose pruning. I do have one very old rose that I inherited with this garden, which is probably about 20 years old now. And some of the stems on it are proper beastie right at the bottom. So occasionally I do have to get my pruning saw out to saw through that, because some of them are just too thick for my secateurs. So I wouldn't advise buying one of these if it's just for the occasional thing. Maybe put on like a local Facebook group, see if anyone's got one that you could borrow. Rather than you going out and having to buy it. I've got one because I do a lot of gardening and a lot of pruning. So and also it's always a good birthday present, isn't it? When you don't know what people should get you, it's like, oh, I'll get some gardening tools. Where am I at? The other thing that's really useful, because obviously roses are really spiky, is some really good gardening gloves. So I just have these. You can get something called a gauntlet, which is like a glove, and then it like covers your whole arm as well, or like up to here. So if you're doing lots of rose pruning, like you will see professional gardeners that work in like, stately homes with rose gardens, and they've got like 50 roses to prune. They probably have a pair of gauntlets, which, fine. I go without. I don't mind the occasional little scratch if I get it on my arm. So so I just go for normal gloves. And then the other thing is hot soapy water, a sponge and a towel. And this is because you're going to cut all your diseased bits off first. You're going to get your sponge. You're going to dip these in the soapy water, really give them a good scrub to get all the disease off, and then use the towel to dry them before you then go on to snip the healthier parts of your plant. So you'll need that as well. And then this last tip is for you if you have found yourself staring out of the window, maybe while hanging the washing out onto your area and thinking, those roses really need pruning, but am I too late to prune them? When's the right time to prune them? How should I cut them back? Or prune them without killing them? Okay, so the first thing to do is to make sure, sorry, my notes are going crazy again, is to make sure if you don't want to kill them, that you prune at the right time. Okay, this reduces the amount of stress on the plant. And just like us, more stress. If you're more stressed, you're more likely to get ill. And it's the same with plants. If the plant is under stress, pests and diseases are more likely to be able to attack and damage the plant. Okay, so we want to try and make sure we prune at the right time. Okay, so when is the best time to prune my roses? When should I prune my roses is the most common question I get asked. So I've got a really, really simple rule for you. Okay, so I'm just going to have another little sip of tea. Getting a bit chilly just sat here. Prune your roses when everyone else is thinking about buying roses. Okay, so February 14th, Valentine's Day. Doesn't have to be on the exact day, but sometime around mid-Feb. Okay, this is obviously based on UK climate. So if you are in a climate that's slightly different to that, drop me a message and I can shift the dates for you. But generally around Valentine's Day. But I do this every year, and I have armfuls of roses to pick with those lovely long straight stems, and to put in vases in my house all throughout the summer. Okay, and I also really like the fact that like most of us go Valentine's Day roses, and then it's like, so the minute I start seeing all those like Valentine's ads online, I'm like, oh, it's nearly rose pruning time. There's a really nice synergy there. So hopefully you agree, and you might give your roses pruning your roses a go. I do just have to share this with you because I just think it's so beautiful. So the lovely Josephine Watlin from her Substack is Of Words and Wool. She shared the most heartwarming thing with me a couple of weeks ago about when to prune roses. Okay, so she's in Sweden, and the rule in Sweden is to prune the roses when the birch leaves are the size of mouse ears. How cute is that? Oh, I just love it. It really appeals to my mantra of like, don't just go by what the gardening book says. Don't just go by what you're hearing on the internet. Actually get out in your garden, look at what's going on, look at the leaves growing, look what's out there, and actually use your senses to notice, what's going on around you, because that is such a powerful tool to connect us to nature. And then by connecting ourselves to nature, we're connecting ourselves back to ourselves, right? Which is a huge, huge part of my work. So yeah, just get outside and notice. If you don't have a birch tree in your garden, maybe just go on a walk around your local area and see if you can find one. And if they're the size of mouse ears, not really sure how big a mouse ear is, then you're good to go, right? But for me, I stick with my Valentine's Day because it's I know where I'm at with that. One last thing to say is that if your roses are out of control and you would like some guidance as you prune them, then, like I said, paid members of the Seed get access to that step-by-step tutorial. It's called, I'll share it in the article, but it's called How to Prune Your Roses in 5 Simple Steps so that you'll have gorgeous blooms this summer. Who doesn't want that, hey? And as a Bloom member of the Seed, you can request a bespoke tutorial to your specific challenge. So, for example, if you've got a climbing rose and you're like, oh, what do I do with this? It's really chaotic and I don't even know where to start. Then I will record you a bespoke tutorial if you are a Bloom member as well. Please do come if you're watching this and I'm brand new to come and join the Seed community. It is a lovely, nourishing space. We're all just out here wanting to spend more time in our gardens, wanting to know, what the hell we should be doing when. And then the last thing to say is that if you want to give pruning your roses a go, and you'd love to do it in community, then this Sunday, between 9 in the morning and 10:30 in the morning, GMT, we have a garden along session. Okay. So when you are a member of the Seed, you get access to 2 of these a month. Or if you are not yet a paid member of the Seed, you can come and try it. You pay £10 a session. You can come and garden with us. I can give you some pointers at the start of the session. If you're not sure what you're going to do, then I can give you some ideas. But if you've got roses in your garden and they need to get pruned, then this is the perfect opportunity to come and try a bit of horticultural therapy and try it in community with us. So that is everything from me. Has anybody got any questions? I don't see anything in the chat, which means I don't think there are any questions, but I will just wait a couple of minutes. Hi. Oh, I didn't say hi, Annabelle, and hi, Heather. Nice to see you here. But if you've got any questions about roses, or pruning roses, then do please pop them in the comments. And I'm just checking actually to see. I don't know what my settings are. I'm now worried that maybe I didn't allow comments, which may be an error on my part. Right. Well, there's no questions coming through, so I'm hoping I've answered all of them. Like I said, do come along this Sunday to a garden along session if you've got roses to prune. And if you are brand new, then do come and join the Seed community and come and garden in community with other like-minded women who are just trying to find a little bit of daily joy in the garden. Thank you so much for coming live and coming along, and speak to you soon. Bye.